I found that there was an organisation called the Jewish Relief Unit that was training people to go to Germany or elsewhere immediately after the war, and I joined. By the time I went to Germany, I was appointed to work with the director of the whole unit, Henry Lanza, and I first went to the headquarters to work with him, and we frequently went to Belsen, and I was taken by a driver to Belsen. And there was already a small team of people under the auspices of Mrs. Henriques, the wife of Basil Henriques, and where people were already working there. And Camp 1 had been burnt down. I suppose the thing I remembered most when I first looked at Camp 1 was the smell. And it was the smell, and I've never forgotten it, it was the smell of geraniums, like that sweet, dank smell of geraniums, and the mounds of the mass graves, the burials, and the fact that people were then incarcerated in the former SS barracks. And I spent time talking to people, the survivors, in those dark, cold, barracks. When you first listen to the stories that survivors tell you, you feel overwhelmed with the enormity of what they're telling you. Mainly the losses of so many people. If my husband had done that, and if he had only listened to me, he wouldn't have been killed. The kind of if quality. That most of the stories were around the if only I'd, when nothing could have saved them, but nothing could have saved them. And you listen to this knowing it. And you felt so helpless. And then I began to feel that I had to make closer contact with them, and I sometimes would hold on to people. We would sit on the floor, and people would hold on to you, and they dug their fingers into your arms, and I found that rocking, as children who were very deprived and unhappy, rocking became a kind of mode that we adopted, and we would rock, and they would tell their stories, and I say that it was like a kind of vomit. They would come out like a vomit, the stories, and some were terrible. The story of how one woman lost an eye when she was being whipped, and how the women had to stand round and watch this, like that kind of story that you heard time and time again. But I began to realize something, and I began to get a sense of agency. I felt that, okay, I am listening to this, and they are wanting me to listen. So perhaps my role is to be their witness and to say to them that that's my role. To say to them the truth. I can't bring those people back. But I can listen, and I can be your witness, and I will be your witness. And I think to those people who were going to die, and there were people who were going to die, and I knew that, I think it was incredibly important. And I've never, people say to me, why is it so important that people's story must be told? But it's absolutely vital that their story is told, and that they know that their story is going to be told.